Hey everybody, we're back in the shop on the skid steer project. Some more parts have rolled in. That is wiring harness for the quick attach on the front end. You'll see how destroyed that is. That's a radiator because the one that's on the housing is tore up pretty bad. It's been a few days since I was in here last on this project. We've had a busy week in the shop and just normal mess going on around here. But I've learned a lot more about this, and I've learned how the fuel lines run. I took some pictures of my friend's skid steer, so I know what I need to do there. I'm fairly certain that this is wiring that goes into injectors, but I would like to pull this off and take a look behind there and see if there's anything wrong or missing. But I know that my oil pressure sensor goes down here in this port from looking at the other machine. So I've got quite a bit of stuff to do still, but I'm not very far from needing to pull it off the stand and get the bell housing and flywheel put back on here and getting that machine drug in the shop. I'm gonna put it underneath the jib crane and I'm gonna swing that engine right in the back. So let's get after it here and get rid of some of these parts on this table. I got a little more done this evening. I got that sensor put in there where it needs to go. I got some of the fuel lines ran from the back of the head to this T, another barbed fitting in there. I checked the wiring behind here. That all looks fine to me. There's a sheet metal bracket that goes behind this that I'd forgot. That's what holds the oil fill neck down into the valve cover. And obviously I pulled it off the engine hoist, got it over here under the jib crane. I need to put the flywheel, the bell housing on. There's a drive plate, kind of like a flex plate. It gets bolted onto the flywheel. That needs to get put on, but it's supper time and I've had enough for today. So I'm gonna go up to the house and see you guys in the morning. Oh, we got this big heavy sucker drug in here. Took the JCB and the mini hoe and we got her jammed back here where I want it. I got the refrigerant machine hooked up to it, pulling the Freon out so I can undo this cluster of crap here. I don't think it hardly had any left in it. He might as well just undone the hoses. But I'm gonna probably take the hydraulic cooler out of the way, and then I will also, I'm gonna cut this wiring here. He's got a piece of extension cord running to the quick attach actuator, and I'm going to jump that to get this bucket off. And then once I get it off, I want to lift the arms up in the air, pin them so they're out of my way, because they kind of work their way forward and that and leave you room. I guess they work up and forward, leave you room to get it either side. And then my plan is I'm going to remount the HVAC box on the back of the cab where it's supposed to be, and lift the cab. Then I should have everything out of my way to get ready to stab this guy back in there. I got to put a drive plate on there, another backing plate on there, and then they sit on a couple pegs right here and here. So that's my plan, but probably go get me some lunch first while this thing's doing its thing. I've only pulled an ounce out of it so far, so I don't think there's hardly anything in it. Cooler's removed. HVAC box is removed. I got the arms lifted up in the air, safety pin locked out. Use the JCB to lift these arms. Just kind of lift it up on them slow and let the hydraulic oil circulate through the system. So now we're ready to get the JCB out of here. We'll raise the cab up, get it out of our way, kind of get ready to stab this thing in there, I think. Cab's tilted up, locked into place. Oh, we got some room to mess around now. I got to figure out a way, I'm sure, to suspend the hydraulic pump to get ready to set the motor in there. Engine, I guess, is the correct term. I'm not sure if it needed to be free from the mounts to get it out of there, or if that's just how they had to do it because of the angle they were messing with not pulling, lifting the cab and the arms up. But I will probably try to put something across here maybe and chain come along this up. I'm not real sure. If I had a normal engine hoist, that would work. And I guess I basically do. I got the forklift, so maybe that's what I need to do, is just stab it in here, pick up on that. Just kind of getting ready to put this puzzle back together. I'm going to get down in here and lay some of this wiring out where it looks like it'll be out of the way and keep plugging along. I hit a couple snags. I got the flywheel on there. Turns out the dowels were not drove all the way into the block. So it was hitting them. Got that figured out. Got them drove in where they need to be, and it's not hitting anymore. But I went to put this guy on. Let's see if I can find where it's at. There's one. There's a good crack there. There's another one. There's another one. It's just not worth putting this in there like that. Might last 10 years or it might last 5 minutes. So I need to get a new one of these, about $100. It goes in here, drives the main hydraulic pump. So hopefully I can get one of them in the next few days. I've got my bolts figured out where they go here. There's 2 big ones there, 2 small ones there. Small ones are, or all of my bell housing bolts are in. Those 2 are longer for that. But I've been kind of wondering if I won't be better off just pulling this pump out of here, hanging it on the engine, and then swinging the whole thing in one assembly, then trying to pick that up, line it up in there, and then get those lower bolts in and make sure they're tight. So it might be worth the time to just drag that main pump out of there and get it attached, and then bring it back in and hook all the hoses back up. It won't be that big a deal because I'm the one unhooking all this stuff, so I can put colored zip ties on all these lines that I might get mixed up before I unhook them, and maybe it won't be that big a deal. I can't tell, but I think there's some sort of suction line underneath that might be hard to get to, but I think we're going to tackle that another day. Swung into John Deere today. I actually had this guy on the shelf, so that worked out good. That'll keep me moving on putting things back together. I got some 15W40, which is what they claim they want me to use for hydraulic oil, and some 80-90 weight that I'm going to use to service the finals when I get it back together. I know that these are fairly particular, and they're expensive when they go out, so that's why I was gonna do it. I didn't necessarily need to get John Deere 80/90 weight, but I didn't know that was what was in it. And I was already standing there, so I just bought it from them. Otherwise, you could do just any kind of 80/90 weight, I'm sure. But this way I know the right stuff's in there. So let's get this thrown onto there and keep plugging away. I think I got everything unhooked. Everything's numbered fairly well, so I know where to put it back. It can kind of only fall in one spot for the most part too. But I'm gonna get a lifting strap in here, stab pallet fork in here, get this out of here. I probably have to set it on the floor, use a hand dolly or something to bring it around the skid steer. But that's what I'm gonna try to do. Hopefully it'll be easier. Hopefully there's nothing hooked up underneath that I couldn't see. There she is. Basically the transmission to the machine. About as big as one too. I don't know what it weighs, but it's heavy. By the way, I got this purple lifting sling with the skid steer project. It was on the engine. It's amazing what people will just give up and let go of when they're mad at something. But now it's time to get that plate on the back of here. Get this guy bolted up. Got the pump straddled there off of some stuff that you shouldn't pick off of, but it'll be fine to get it bolted up to there. Plate's all bolted on all the way around. I'm actually waiting on one of these bolts. But there's four. There's two down here, two here. So I think I'm gonna get it swung up there and try to get it stabbed, and I might be able to put that last bolt in when this thing is in here. There it is. Got it hung on there. Looks pretty good. Still need an extra bolt for this side. Got the ones in the bottom. I think it's honestly ready to swing in there, but check out that pile of dirt and crap that was underneath it. I probably better hit that with the vacuum before I swing it in there. I don't know if I'm gonna have time for that tonight, but we're plugging right along. It's looking good. Well, I got it vacuumed out the best I could. It's all fairly greasy from hydraulic oil, but got most of the big chunks out of there. I'd rather it be oily than wet, because at least it won't rust bottom down in there. But I'll probably end up washing this thing out again before it's all said and done. It's got quite the mess back here still. So I'm kind of thinking I want to try to swing that thing in here tonight. I'd rather it be sitting in there on the mounts than be sitting on these blocks. So why not? Let me see if I can get this kind of rigged up and try to get it swung in there. Let me show you what I got going on here. I got the forklift through here because I'm picking off the engine back there, and this was all tipped down this way. So that's kind of lifting me up and pulling me forward. Now I'm going to bounce back and forth between the jib hoist, which is up against that bar already. Start lowering it. letting it creep down towards the mount and use the forklift to keep pulling that direction. Well, that works slick. It's real close to being where it needs to be. Just kind of bounced back and forth between the two, and that swung her right into place. It's kind of tight quarters. It kind of also looks small down in there, but that's where she lives. So I'm not sure. I might try to mess with a few motor mount bolts, or maybe put the hydraulic lines back on that I've had off of this, since they're nice and fresh. We'll just kind of see how it goes here. I'll fiddle with this a little bit while longer. Maybe get the wiring harness laid out where it's supposed to be so it's not wadded up. We'll see what I can do. Get the forklift out of there first. I made it a lot further than I thought I would. I've got a bunch of the wiring laid out, kind of where it needs to go. All of this is hooked back up, including the harness that comes along here, plug at the bottom of the hydraulic tank, and a plug right there. You can see a bunch of red lugs that lay out by the starter and a bunch of black ones. So I'm guessing that's a bunch of grounds and positive wires there. Got a short harness there that goes up to the AC compressor. That big plug down there, which is the injectors. In an earlier video, I said I didn't know what it was, maybe a knock sensor or something. Not really sure why I thought that, but that's what it is it feeds the injectors. This harness lays down on top of the engine, but I need to get motor mount bolts in, but I don't think I'm gonna mess with them tonight. I gotta get the engine lined up still, so be barring it around in here a little bit. I've got all the bolts here, but looks really good in there. I'm happy with my progress so far. Looks way better there than over there or over here or on the step deck. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Another evening in the shop. Let's take a look at what I've got done. There's wiring. Runs along the bottom of the block here, and a bracket for that hard steel hydraulic hose. A bunch of positive wires that hook up to the starter solenoid. A bunch of grounds that hook to the post or the lower bolt for the starter, including the negative wire here. Positive's laid up on top here. It just falls down in there. I got all 3 motor mount bolts in. There's another, and there's that one underneath that hose. Hard to see. I still need to put that bolt in for the ear on the hydraulic pump. Got a bunch of wiring laid up on top of the engine. It's coming along like it should. I need to do fuel lines. That's another big thing I could get done. I ended up getting the high flow pump plumbed in last night. This guy here is just a vent for the hydraulic tank. It kind of gets tucked back down into here, but I think I'll do fuel lines next. I need to look up and see how the wires for this sensor, I think that's for my tack, need to go. I'm not sure if this is right or not. I've got the fan belt on. I know that that's right from my pictures, but I'm moving right along. I think I'm getting fairly close to probably hanging the HVAC box up there. I will do the fuel lines first before that, but it's clipping right along. Things are falling where they need to be and starting to look more and more like a mess, I guess. My fuel lines are ran, and it's tight to get to them. Everything's hooked up like it should be. I'll try to put a picture on the screen right now so you can see how I knew where to put them. It was in a manual that came with the machine, so it wasn't that big a deal. I've got to a pretty good stopping point for this evening. I got the oil drain line bolted up down here where it's supposed to go. I've got the HVAC box hung up in here. So far, the only bolt I can find to hold it is right here. It looks to me like maybe the hood continues up past here, bolts down there, and then bolts down to the top of the box. As far as I can tell, I've got my coolant lines ran down here for the heater core. This wiring's just kind of mixed in with it. I'm still trying to figure out where it goes. I've got a pigtail here with a single plug that I'm not sure where it goes. T's right here, so I need to figure it out. One AC line hooked up to the compressor. The other one hooks to the condenser over there. So big fat plug hooks into the side of the HVAC box there. I've got another great big plug here. Not sure where it goes. I'm just chipping away at it slow. I think it's not going to be very long. And I need some of this framework back here with the radiator and that so I can start plumbing that in. Pretty sure this guy hangs from the framework up here somewhere, the fuel filter housing. I'll change that filter out when I get the housing put up. I already put the new inline filter on. That's kind of it, I guess. It still looks like quite the mess, but I'm finding homes for this stuff, and the bolts are adding up right, so I'm not too afraid of any extra bolts or anything. They kind of are just falling where they need to go. So I think I'm going to call it an evening, go inside, get some supper, and do some research on wiring. I'll see you guys tomorrow.